All right, all right. We are back at the Grit Won't Quit studios in Belmont today. We are live. We have a very special guest on from USA Bugsweeps. We have Michael. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming in.
Great.
Thanks for wanting to get on the podcast. You have a very cool business, and I think people will definitely like it, as well as learn something about if they weren't thinking about it. So tell us what USA Bugsweeps is, because it's not a pest control company.
It is definitely not a pest control company, and that is a somewhat common misconception.
When I first got the response on the online portal, I was like, oh, Bugsweeps. And we had a pest control guy on not too long ago. So I was like, wow, the pest control wants to get onto our show. But really, it's anything but.
No, yes, it is anything but.
So tell us what USA Bugsweeps is.
So we're a business that specializes in technical surveillance countermeasures, and that is the act or the study of finding hidden devices. So it could be hidden cameras, hidden audio devices, any kind of spying equipment that may be placed somewhere in a physical space that the person that inhabits that space doesn't want there.
Yep.
So we're looking for anything spying on somebody unbeknownst to them.
It's so crazy to think that like this actually happens in real life. It's not just movies, right? That this is a real life situation where people have to call and say, "Hey, I think I need to have you come out and check the house."
There's a lot of different situations that we run into that this is pretty becoming more and more common. Anything from residential situations to business situations. A board meeting, a patent discussion, down to a crazy neighbor who might be breaking into a house, or
Does
ongoing.
that really happen?
Oh yeah. Ongoing divorce situations. I mean, there's such a wide range of reasons why people could be doing this. Wow. That it has definitely increased in the past couple of years.
It's weird though, because like it's a business that's your business is based on not having trust.
Mm-hmm.
So your whole business relies on people not having trust.
I mean, there's a lot of businesses out there that rely on people not having trust. I mean, we have attorneys all over the place.
Yeah, I know. It's so different. My business is built all about trust. Wow, God. That's just it's crazy to think about. So I'm sure you have some pretty funny stories.
There are quite a few, and we do find ourselves in situations sometimes. We do advertise that we will sweep pretty much any physical space, and some people along the way have put that to the test a bit. We've had situations where we've swept fleets of private jets. Wow. I was definitely on a very large sailboat once in the Pacific Northwest, sweeping that boat because the gentleman was going to be living on it, and he wanted to make sure that his ex-wife hadn't placed any spying devices on his sailboat, and down to situations where people are dealing with certain levels of paranoia, and they want us to come in to confirm to them that either there's nothing there or that there is something there, and you never really know what you're really walking into at that point.
So you walk into a house, or you walk onto this sailboat, and you guys just start looking?
No, there's a more scientific process to this. One thing that sets us apart from some other individuals or companies that may offer what they call this service is the equipment that we use and the experience that we have. We only do sweeps. That's our only line of business with USA Bugsweeps. So we're out there pretty much every day sweeping something. And we use equipment that's specifically manufactured for that industry. That does set us apart. There's only about 6 or 7 other companies in the country that use that set of equipment, and it's very reliable equipment. It's designed actually for our government agencies. Mm-hmm. So it's very nice to be able to operate at that level and have that level of confidence in our equipment. But because we do hundreds of sweeps a year too, that gives us a little more of an advantage to be able to be more confident with our sweeps. But the equipment all tests and inspects for certain aspects of spying. We have equipment that tests for radio, full spectrum radio frequency analysis, which if we want to go into that, that could be really fun and exciting. But we're sweeping for different cell phone bands of radio frequency. We're looking for Bluetooth signals. We're analyzing Wi-Fi networks and home networks or business networks for devices that don't belong on the network. We're physically inspecting a space. We're coming in, we're looking around. All right, if there's going to be a camera here, what's the vantage point that we want to get? Where would a camera work? We look at how devices would function based on the space that they're in. A good example of that is an audio device. If I wanted to put an audio bug in your living room, I'm not going to bury it in a pillow because I won't hear anything. Contrary to popular belief, I'm probably not going to put it in an air vent because air moves through vents. And when you move air past a microphone, it sounds like the news reporter in the hurricane. Yeah. So those are just little tidbits that we kind of, pick up from experience along the years that become crucial parts of our sweeps. And we pretty much work through a checklist to make sure we cover all the bases of all the possible ways that somebody could be being spied on. And we operate under the premise that there's something there until we prove that there can't be. So we're going to test everything we possibly can to either have a result that proves that there's nothing here or here it is. Those are the only two outcomes of our sweeps.
Yeah. And you're doing, your business does residential, it does business. So you guys can almost handle any situation that's out there.
Yes. And really any size space too. We've been called in to do, 50,000 square foot buildings and businesses with multiple campuses, and the difference with that is we'll bring extra technicians. It'll take a little longer. It may take multiple days and scheduling, but we'll get everything covered. We have a good system that we can put into place almost anywhere that we go.
Wow. So I'm sure there's, like Tom said, there has to be some stories. So I got to pull out a couple out of you.
This is like War of the Roses. On KTU. Shout out to KTU there. But they have those stories where people call and they got the roses and you're supposed to send it to the person. The person's calling up to try to trick their spouse or significant other into sending the roses to the wrong place. So you're just like on steroids of that because the roses are just a quick hit, whereas you're looking for devices and funny things that are hidden in houses. Like to Mark's point of it's got to be something funny.
Yeah, I mean we also do we sweep vehicles too locally, and we will sweep a vehicle as part of a residential sweep add-on. But here in New Jersey, we will sweep just a vehicle, and there is this particular time that comes to mind that we were called out to sweep a vehicle, and we met with the client. He told us that he wasn't really being a honest and trustworthy family man at that time, and we got under his car and we're doing our physical inspection, and there's a tracker sitting right there in front of us. So we say, "Hey, buddy, there's a tracker on your car," and he's like, "Oh man, I knew it." And we continued to sweep, and we found another one. And he gave us the conclusion that his wife had placed a tracker on the car, and his girlfriend had placed a tracker on his car. So
that's
everybody knew where he was at all times.
I think the girls should have met up.
They probably did it together. They said, "We're gonna get this guy."
They could have consolidated costs and just used the same one. I think the gig would have been up at that point, but
I think the gig's probably up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you keep in touch with him, but I'm sure that relationship is over. Someone's not happy.
Or he has a third one now.
Yeah. Yeah, right. There's no more room under this car.
How big are these trackers?
Well, there's trackers are probably one of the things we find the most. There's a wide range of them commercially available. I mean, down to Amazon, you could have one at your door tomorrow, under $100, and there's a monthly service that goes along with them. They're basically mini cell phones. So they'll use a SIM card, and there'll be a satellite module within the tracker. And what happens is the satellite module is responsible for the location, and then the cellular module, or the part with the SIM card, then transfers that location data to a server somewhere. And then that's what you access on your phone or your computer. And it obviously happens very quickly. So you can have some trackers that can give you a location down to every 3 seconds that vehicle's in motion. So you could also, in an effort to conserve battery, you can have that tracker only report every 5 minutes. So these trackers, they come with the option of having an extended battery. You're looking at with the extended battery, pretty much the size of 2 decks of cards stacked on top of each other.
Wow.
If you don't have the extended battery, you're looking at a week and a half or so, 2 weeks of battery life with the internal battery. But that's a matchbook. Well, smaller, a couple
That's
inches.
crazy, yeah.
It's very small.
So how did you get into this business?
I actually started in the private investigative industry. I went to school for criminal justice and for fire science, and I graduated with both those degrees and was offered a job with a private investigative agency up in Connecticut. And I, fresh out of college, they taught me everything about the industry, and I loved it. So I stayed with that company for quite some time, and they were awesome. They taught me everything I know about this industry. Decided to come back home to New Jersey. I started my own investigative agency here in New Jersey, Anchor Investigative Services, and I was approached by an individual who owned this by USA Bugsweeps, and I had known him for many years. And he offered to have me get involved in the TSCM field. So I started doing the training, which takes about 1.5 years, almost 2 years, and getting some experience and loved the technology aspect of it. So that was about 8 or 9 years ago. And since then, I've kind of grown with the company. And then eventually we made an agreement for having me take over the company. And, it's been great. But that's kind of how I got into it.
And now you're doing any more private investigating?
On a limited basis. I do handle some cases for some clients that I've had for a long time. I am the vice president of the New Jersey Licensed Private Investigators Association. So I have a lot of contacts with the industry. So I usually I like making connections if somebody calls me looking for a certain task or a certain job in that industry. I'll connect them with an investigator that could probably serve them better than I can, even if it's a geographic location.
Cool. And now, what are some of the, so we talked about some of the kind of funny things that happen in your business, but what's some of the hustle? What's some of the grit of being a small business owner doing bug sweeps? The good thing is, it seems like your market's on the uptick. There's more and more problems going on. But kind of what's as you broke into this, as you took over USA Bugsweeps, kind of what tell us some of that.
Okay, and we are on the uptick. I would say as a whole, due to the accessibility of people being able to get devices. So I don't see that going away. I see technology evolving as it does, and so I think that will keep progressing, and so there will be a need for us. Some of the challenges, especially that are unique to bug sweeps, I like being in the field. I like doing sweeps. So sometimes it's very hard for me to step back from that. We travel a lot. We service the country. We don't have just a small area that we service. So we fly sometimes once or twice a week, and that's I love doing that. It's fun. It's exciting to go visit new places and see new things. So a big challenge for me has been handling everything on the back end while still continuing to do the parts of the business that I like. And I'm sure that's a challenge with a lot of business. So yeah,
a lot of entrepreneurs. There's some people that just do what they love, but that's not built. They're not helping build themselves a bigger business because they're in the field doing.
Yes, and I mean, I'm sure I can relate with most people here, but when you're first getting started, you want to handle everything yourself, and I'm sure there's quite a few people, myself included, that have wanted to throw the computer through the wall when organizing QuickBooks or something like that. It's I think it's intentionally difficult. But
what would you say is your favorite thing about being a business owner, and then what's your not favorite thing about being a business owner?
Least favorite.
Least. There you go.
Okay, so my least favorite thing about being a business owner would be the fact that it's always on. There's you don't walk out of the office at 5 p.m. and not deal with anything until 9 a.m. the next morning. Even if it's
Wait, you don't. That doesn't happen. Wait, I thought I was the only one that didn't have one. I thought it happened for everybody else.
even if it's self-inflicted, like I'm gonna, I don't have the ability to turn it off, so I'm gonna lay there at night if I can't sleep and think about, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Maybe I'll try that, and then the hours tick by. The best part about it is, I would say, freedom and the ability to make decisions that directly affect me. So, for example, I could schedule something that I need to get done around something that is important to me. And the ability to kind of put my family above some of the stuff that I'm doing, being a business owner affords me that luxury of doing that. And it is a luxury, and I don't take it for granted.
That's fair.
That's awesome.
I like how you've traded a 40-hour work week to say that you have the freedom.
A 40-hour work week for like what, a
For 100 hours.
Yeah, to have freedom.
to the fact that you can't sleep sometimes, thinking about what you want to do tomorrow.
So the key is you're able to put those hours where you need them. I think that's
reprioritize.
Yes, I think that's the key. But you're right. You're 100% right.
But I think most entrepreneurs fall into that category. Don't want to work 40, but will work 100, for themselves. And again, I think it's part of your DNA.
Yeah, you see that too. Everybody has people that maybe they do work that 9 to 5 and they're completely happy with it, and that's a lot of people, and that's fine. And then there's, I always kind of had an idea that I wanted to do something for myself, and that kind of started at a young age, not super young, but I remember a couple of my first jobs were in restaurants, in the restaurant business, and waiting tables and bartending and stuff. And it always appealed to me because I quickly learned that I directly impact how much I'm going to make tonight. How I treat these customers is going to impact how much I'm going to walk out of this door with. It's not the fact that I'm here 8 hours and then I leave and I'm done and I get X amount of dollars. So that kind of spurred me to move forward and kind of have that option business wise.
That's great. So now, where do you see Bugsweeps going?
It's an interesting question.
Or where do you want to see Bugsweeps going?
I'd like to see Bugsweeps continue to stay specialized in what we do. There's been a lot of ideas that I've had about branching off to different aspects of the industry, but I think that now staying focused on our prime service is more important. I'd like to see us have maybe more technicians in geographic areas to be able to get to our clients sooner and more cost effectively. But ultimately, I would like to see this be an attainable service for everybody that is concerned with their privacy and that wants the peace of mind to be able to call us in and take care of it. So I think everything that we do to manage costs for the end client makes it more accessible for a greater amount of people down the road.
That's awesome. So I assume, right? I mean, you said you do national. Your team is traveling, or you're traveling all over the place. Is there anywhere you won't go, or is there a project you won't do, in the sense of,
I don't know. I could read into this question a little more. We do occasionally get phone calls, and there's another story I could share with you. Because it's undeniable that in this industry you're going to run into a situation where somebody calls and says, "I think law enforcement has my house bugged. Can you come in and sweep?" Yes, we can, because you're the client. We're not law enforcement. We can, and we're going to tell you, hey, there's something here. Unless we are approached by law enforcement prior to doing the sweep. Because then if we are made aware that there is something there for that client and we continue to go in and do the sweep and discover it, we're now interfering in an investigation. So we have to be very careful with that. And that's federal all the way down to local.
Has that happened before, where someone's called you in and then law enforcement told you to get out?
Close. We do have a pretty good working relationship with a lot of law enforcement partners. that either will call us for certain things or we'll call them for advice. And there's been a handful of situations where we'll say, hey, we have somebody calling us. They're looking to possibly do a sweep. They haven't committed yet or anything, and they'll say, probably shouldn't be bothered with that or something. That's just part of the game. We don't want to get ourselves in any kind of legal trouble.
No.
There was a situation that we were called into in a large state, and we were contracted to. The client said they wanted us to come sweep their club. All right. Well, in my head, I had dancing and disco balls and drinks and bars. All right, cool. Going to the club, and he said, oh, we have some competition that's been trying to get some information, so we want our offices and the main club floor swept. Sure, we can do it. Fly out. I meet them in the morning, and we're in a really industrial area. And I'm like, maybe it's one of those new loft clubs. It's we took a building, we made it something fancy, and he's like, oh, our president will be here, and I, okay, president of a club? That's weird. Okay. So we walk in, and there was motorcycles everywhere and banners on the wall and a lot of different paraphernalia from a certain motorcycle club that this was one of their clubhouses. And it turns out they had been raided by the FBI a couple weeks before.
Oh.
And they wanted us to come in to make sure the FBI didn't leave anything behind. And we didn't know that until I was pretty much walking in the door. So that was an interesting situation that had some law enforcement implications to it. We were never contacted by anybody in law enforcement, and if I remember correctly, I don't believe there was anything there. But that's a good example of something where
Different kind of club.
if we knew beforehand, maybe it would have been approached differently. But it was definitely not a disco club.
That's funny. The president of the
Yeah, I was like, wow, this is a pretty big club. Huh?
So how do customers find you? How do you find customers in this?
We have a lot of word of mouth and direct referrals.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of private investigative agencies that don't offer this service because it's pretty specialized. So we offer them a commission-based format that if they bring us clients, we will give them a commission for that client if the job goes through. So that we love working with investigators doing that. Our website is pretty important to us. We've made a lot of big investments in that, and we continue to. But that's where people will find us just out of the blue.
Sure.
Google, anything like that. And we make it a point to have somebody answer the phone whenever people call. We find that very, very important. And even if we can't physically, because no matter how much you try, there's not, we still have a backup of a live answering service.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very important to us. People that are calling kind of want information right away.
Yeah.
And there's only so much information we can convey via website. Everybody's situation is different. So we like doing that initial consultation on a live phone call. And that kind of sets us apart because we do have a lot of calls that we get that people say, oh yeah, I called and left a message and so-and-so never got back to me. So we don't want that to happen. So
Also, the first time they're calling, if they're not they don't know you, it's probably they're worried and they want to know that they get that assurance from you.
Yeah, and this and like you said earlier, this industry is very unique. It's very different. It's very niche. It's you're not hiring a plumber because your toilet's clogged.
Yeah.
Something that all of us have probably done one point in our lives or not. This is something that a lot of people call us and say, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah.
This is a thing. So.
And it's a weird call.
Yeah.
In your industry, because I guess I've never searched for it before in the past, so it's never
Probably
shown up on
thing.
social media, right? How do you guys get the word out there? You guys do social media marketing? Do you is it mainly just referrals?
We don't do a lot of social media marketing, mostly because I guess right now developing the content would be a challenge to us because our clients' privacy is paramount. Even when I tell stories, I'll say a client or this guy or something like that, that this business, this large organization. So that's very key. There's there's things that we have to protect. So we're almost never going to be posting videos of us doing a sweep somewhere or something like that. We do have a video on our website of us doing a sweep on the Dr. Phil show. They actually called us to do a sweep for one of their segments, and we flew out to New Mexico and filmed it and everything. And that's really fun because it's me and one of our technicians, Andrew, and it's pretty much us walking them through how we do a sweep. So it's a great primer of how we do it. So social media wise, we don't do much, and maybe we will, but
I bet there's some funny videos you could do.
You
like
can.
without the clients and without their privacy. Like just funny stories you've encountered, or in a way like that you take some of what happened and do it at your facility.
I've always wanted to have a really popular TikTok channel.
Like I think
maybe
I think it would be
I honestly
great.
think you do have like something that's there. Like you could film here. You could set it up. Do funny things here.
I think about like probably. I mean, I don't mean to call out the cheaters, but if you're cheating, you're probably looking for something somewhere else, and social media is probably a great place to look for it.
True,
Right?
that is true. That is true.
So-
But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, it's mostly direct referrals and referrals from the website. That's where we're getting most of our calls from. I don't really feel that we're behind the times with social media because a lot of our clients aren't looking on social media for this line of business, but it's definitely an avenue that wouldn't hurt to explore.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Look, I'm getting ideas here too.
Look at
Look at that.
That's a free podcast. So, all right. I mean, you have a lot of cool things going on. I like it. So now, just so the audience knows as we wrap up today, where can people find out about your service?
Okay, so the biggest source of information is going to be usabugsweeps.com. That is, our catch-all website that will give you, it outlines the equipment we use. We put that on the website. Every piece of equipment is listed on that website. You can independently go and Google it and see what it does. That's very important to us. A few testimonials on there, but are you going to trust what other people say? We all do, so go for it. There's that video I was speaking about, a couple of blog posts, but, an overall encompassing information base of what we do. And that's the best way for somebody to decide if this is a service that they need. And probably 5 different ways to contact us is on there. So, also my direct email is always available. I'm sure you guys can list it, when we wrap this up.
We put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So thank you for coming on today. Thank you for, telling us more about your service. Thankfully, you've never been at my house that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
Funny guy. Who brought the funny guy? My feeling is if you need his service, you have to rethink your relationship.
After the service.
I don't want to put this guy out of business, but if you're thinking about hiring him, maybe you think about going to Match.com.
Well, depending on the timing of that, it could be an issue.
Fair. Well, thank you again, Mike, for coming on. It was great to get to talk to you, and you got a very cool business, and keep doing great things out there.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.